Hey everybody, me again. This week we're going to be getting into animation finally, and I know a lot of people have been waiting for this and are excited. So today we're going to get straight into it, and we're going to do a little bit of simple animation. I don't want to overwhelm anybody, and we're going to have some fun doing it. Now here we have Amy. Yeah, everybody knows Amy. A lot of you people apparently like her, seeing as how that crummy video I made in an hour, 1 hour's time, the Sonic and Amy video now has, God, like 3 million views. I even put in the description I don't want you to watch the video, but anyway, let's make a different Amy video, one that I can be proud of and we can take our time with. I should take that thing down from YouTube. Anyway, so last time I briefly mentioned this bottom area down here. This is the timeline. Now, the timeline keeps track of all the different frames of animation you have. In a frame of animation, it's very simple. You probably already know this, but for those who don't, an animation works with, well, it's kind of hard to explain. We see in frames also, our eyes take back images of the world around us and puts them together into a moving image. So you have one picture of a thing, and then you have another picture of a thing. And if you flash that picture into that picture, it looks like it moved. Yeah, very simple. So animation is basically like that. Earlier we set our frames per second. I don't know what this one is. It's probably like 11 or something. I believe that's the default for that. But that's not very important right now. We're being simple here, and we're not trying to go very fast. So down here you have a drawing and a camera. The camera is irrelevant at this point. We're focusing today just on drawing. Using the drawing view, we are viewing solely this drawing right here. You double click it, or is it just one click? Yeah, click on it while it's selected, and you can change the name of it. So we're going to call this Amy Head, because that's what it is. It's Amy's head. It's always important to name these things. It's not just flowery. People, you're allowed to do that. It's fun or whatever. I know that corporations try to, add in things. Oh, I can name the colors and all that. That's not as necessary. But naming these drawings is very, very important. You got to keep track of these things. So this is Amy's head. I drew one frame of it before we got started. What we're going to have today is we're going to have Amy blink. And I know that blinking isn't the most exciting thing, but the very next episode, we're going to continue this with something other than blinking. So, a blinking consists of, yes, eyes open, then eyes closed, and then eyes open again. But it takes a little more extra stuff in between to make it look nice and pretty. So, a full blink, we're using a low frames per second, so it won't look super good. We'll go ahead and make it 4 separate frames. Actually, let's make it 5 separate frames. 4 separate frames. Okay. 5 separate frames. Okay, we're doing 5. Okay, so what do you want to do first? I gotta figure out, wrap my head around how to explain this. So we have a frame here. The next thing we want to do is go over to this frame. Now, as you can see, there's nothing here. We need to bring something here. You have 2 options. You can either go over here to this thing called the onion skin list. It can turn. This is turning it on and off. Right now it says no previous drawings and no next drawings. You can adjust this so that it will show the drawing right before it. See how it's a desaturated pink? That's what they'll always use to describe the for the image and lines or whatever that you had in the previous image, the previous frame. You can go up to 3 drawings back, and it shows you it's very important to take advantage of these onion skin features to really help you figure out what happened in the frame beforehand. You never want to go in blind. You can also show the next drawings, and this will all be very useful when we get into in-betweening, which will come in the next episode. But today we're just going to focus on the simple things, the very simple things, the bare necessities of life. Now, using this onion skin, I could very easily go in and I could redraw everything. And redraw a brand new Amy head every single time on top of the one I just made here. And draw the next frame, which would be lower or whatever. And that would all be very nice and dandy and all that. But for the sake of time and for the sake of showing you how to do this kind of process, a faster process, I'll show you it. It doesn't look as nice, and frame by frame, I always encourage, keep drawing. The more things you draw, the better it looks, guaranteed, every time. That maybe not every time, but I swear, if I were to draw Amy's head 5 separate times and have her blink, ugh, brilliant quality. But let's go ahead and show you a different process. I'm going to show you how to do 1 frame, and then we'll do a little bit of speed up, Game Grump style. Alright, so what we got here is Amy's head. I take my select her head, then I right-click, and you see this menu. I already explained a couple of things in this menu before, but we're going to once again focus this time on the copy, cuts, and paste. Now, be very mindful that what I copy in here and what I copy down here are 2 separate places. Toon Boom can't keep track of both of them at the same time, but I cannot copy this picture, then go right here and click paste. It won't work. I can only copy frames and paste them. Okay, you can copy frames just like you can copy this. I probably should have said that earlier. Alright, so copy, then I go to here and putting my mouse on this drawing field right here. Here's where you right click and click paste object. Now, as you can see, I have 2 of the exact same thing right next to each other. But say I were to, well, let's go ahead and draw the eyebrows lower. Also, don't forget to use your onion oh, shoot. I did it on the wrong frame. My bad. Okay. Now we're here on this frame. The frame you want to change. The one that wasn't before. Don't forget to take advantage of your onion skin, and it shows you just what was before. So what I'm going to draw is the very next frame in the cycle. You're going to have, with a blink, a little bit of a snap. If we're doing this in 5 frames, then we have 2 frames to close, and then 2 frames to go back up. Having the eyes go down should be slower than having them rise up, or vice versa. It depends on how you're trying to emote the character. So we're going to have a lower frame, not too drastically lower. We're not trying to surprisedly blink. We just want a little lower. Animation is a lot of drawing the same line over and over again until you get it the way you want. Today I'm not really feeling very... There we go. Alright. I promise not to complain, show my skills, and all that. So, I have lowered the general eyes, but now we want to work with the lids. Sonic characters do have this kind of lid business going on. So we're going to draw in these lids now. And Amy... I thought Amy would be a good character to convey eyes blinking because she does have eyelashes. And you know how pretty those eyelashes are. Yeah. And that's basically that first frame. So as you can see, I can flip back between these 2 and she's making her way down. Now, it will make a full animation when all the frames are present in a second here. But you can always see that adding more things like maybe the hair bobbing, redrawing everything again will really add a more animation-like feel. But this is very simple and great for beginners to practice. The copy and paste tool are your biggest friends. And don't forget the Control-C and Control-V are the copy and paste buttons. Now, one last thing before I go into the speed away. Let's focus on copying and pasting down here. I can copy this frame right here, copying it, and I can paste it here. Now, it's the exact same frame. You can see that there's a line separating the one before and the one that's brand new. This is, if you look, you kind of hold your mouse over that, that's Amy Head 1 and that's Amy Head 2. They're all named, and it's shown over here in the exposure sheet, which is basically the exact same thing as the timeline, except more names. I only really refer to the exposure sheet whenever I have to get a better grip for the names or whatever, instead of waiting for, holding my mouse over this and waiting for the names to come up. It's helpful. The exposure sheet will give you a little bit more... Well, actually, the reason why the exposure sheet's here is because this is how old animation was designed. It was designed in graphs and spreadsheets like this. You see it goes on and on and on, and yeah. Little thing. Okay, so one big thing, and a screw up that a lot of early animators make, and I still make from time to time, is I'll be drawing and I'll go, okay, copy, paste. All right, I'm ready to go ahead and work on the next image. See how I've moved my thing over here? I'm on image 3. All right, so I want to now have her eyes lowered down just for the sake of instruction. I'm going to actually draw better lines than, instead of just moving them around. And I'm like, okay, next frame. And I go back and I see, or like, let me check my animation. And I go back and I see, oh wow, what happened to the frame beforehand? You were working with that same frame. You were still working with Amy's head too. The only way to take the previous drawing and change it in its exactness is to copy the drawing image, the drawing object, and then put a new one, and it makes a new frame. It doesn't make the same exact Amy 2. We now have Amy 3. So this is important. If you still don't get it, leave a comment. I'll touch up on it later. I think I might make a video for questions and stuff like that in the future. All right, so speed up. Alright, so we've got this. We have a thing. We have a small short animation. I think I made 1 frame extra. No, I drew 5 frames. Okay, so, yeah, you can see that you can play with the image and everything like that. You can watch it in your actual Toon Boom project here by using these. You can play it. See, it just, she blinked. Cool, right? You can loop it. Got something in your eye, Amy? Is there something in your eye? Go back, you can go individual frames or whatever. Keep in mind that whenever you're playing with this feature here, playing your animation through, the more things you add, the slower and less realistically it would play when exported. And it also won't match up with the music as much. So when you're lip syncing and working with music, it's important to focus on the specific frames you're working with and not be playing it from the very beginning expecting for exactly what it would see. To clarify this, I shall go to play, and I shall go to preview scene. This will show you exactly what the viewer will see when things happen. Now, Toon Boom exports kind of slowly, Toon Boom Studio 4 specifically. Oh, and she's off-center. Wonderful. That'll help me to explain things. But as you can see, yeah, you can play this back exactly as you'd want. Now, you just noticed that Amy was off-center, but you're watching this and you're like, she's right in the middle. She wouldn't be off-center. Pshaw. You're thinking like you're in the drawing view. The camera view is what you want to be using here. The camera view is what the viewer will see in this box here, which is the camera box, which is what this thing is right here. This camera thing, which you can, well, I guess, get into even more later. This is the camera, and this is what the viewer will see. I think I already touched up on this earlier, but we have to make sure that Amy's head is in the right placement. So you can use the drawing or whatever, and you could move Amy's head right here with the select tool. But what you just did was you moved only that frame. These work only with everything in the drawing view. Okay, so when I play it back, watch what happens. Oh, what's that? I only moved that one frame. To move all of the frames and all of Amy's head right here, this drawing, you have to move it with the select tool down here. This baby can move the whole thing, and it can also stretch and squash and everything like that, and you can get the right sizing that you'd like. That seems about right. And you can play her like that, and she works just fine. And that's exactly how the viewer will see it. Notice how Amy is still in the same place in the drawing menu. I could move her way over. Well, that still wouldn't show what I'm trying to explain here very well. But yes, she's still off center here. But when I go into the drawing feature, she's right where we want her. Okay, so that's basic animation. Anything I forgot? Nope. Alright, so let's just watch Amy blink profusely, and we'll call it a night. See ya.